Hello, Fundraising Online. This is Michael Sabat. Today I'm going to be talking about using messaging channels for donor acquisition and fundraising for nonprofits. First off, thank you so much for attending. I hope you find this presentation valuable and interesting. And Resource Alliance, thank you for inviting me to speak. I appreciate it. When I look at a presentation like this, one of the things I ask is, does the speaker know what he's talking about? In this case, the obvious answer is, I don't know, but I've been doing it a long time. Here's a quick overview of my resume, what I've done in the messaging space, where I've been working for over 10 years. I started working for a company called Mobile Commons in 2008. We powered automated messaging campaigns, and that meant SMS and MMS. We focused in the US and mainly worked with advocacy organizations doing acquisition and activation. I then went to @Message. @Message powered automated conversations over Facebook Messenger. Hustle was next, where we do P2P SMS campaigns. We'll talk more about it in the deck, but basically P2P means your supporters texting other supporters, so actual people talking to people. I'm now with Frontline SMS. Frontline SMS is a platform that automates SMS conversations and WhatsApp. Our focus is list building, acquisition, activation for NGOs and nonprofits, and we do a lot of work internationally, which is actually quite tricky to do with SMS. There's two big changes in the world that we're going to address in this deck. The first is that obviously everybody has a mobile phone. We'll talk more about what that means later. But a big change that you as campaigners and fundraisers can really do something with is the fact that there's now tools where you can stay in touch with supporters, build the relationship over time, and create long-term sustainable donor bases. It's no longer about meeting someone and immediately asking them to make a donation and hoping they say yes. Sort of like how relationships work. You don't ask someone to get married on the first date. And so what we're talking about, the way I see the modern way of digital fundraising is building lists, driving engagement, strengthening the relationship, and asking the right people for the right donation at the right time. So everything I'm talking about in this presentation is in the concept or the perspective of this new kind of approach to fundraising where there's list building. This isn't about mobile transactions, although we'll talk about that a bit. We're going to talk about messaging and how messaging works long-term, sustainably, as an ongoing CRM communication channel with supporters. Another big meta idea here is that messaging is the future of communication channels, and it's worth investigating and testing out your campaigns in. The other thing that I say that's a trickier point to get through is ideas and best practices exist in messaging, answers may not. And what that means is we know how to make it work, but where email and web pages have had 1,000 A/B tests, and a consultant can tell you a blue button will work better than a red button, those details, those tests haven't yet been done in messaging. I tell people that it's worth it to try messaging campaigns. A lot of times when you hear that, especially in the nonprofit space, especially from a vendor, what I would think is it's probably not going to bring results, but we're going to learn a lot. That's not what I mean at all. What I mean is that even simple, dumb messaging campaigns will provide big results. It's worth doing it even if you don't have all the answers, and you're going to learn along the way. Again, we aren't at the stage where we're tweaking the color of a button or the one or two words in a subject line to increase response rates by 1%. We're at the stage where something as simple as we sent an email donation ask, or we sent a piece of mail and we also texted the person to let them know that piece of mail is coming, and we saw 25, 50%, 75%, or 100% increases in conversions when we sent a text message along with the email or the piece of mail. So it's worth trying because there's still low-hanging fruit. Even if you don't have all the answers, you can get good results. The agenda for today's chat is going to start with talking about why nonprofits are rushing towards messaging, all of the channel stats that are important. We're going to talk about best practices and approach for messaging channels. We're going to share results, so case studies of what's worked and numbers surrounding that. And then we'll talk about what's new, what's next in the messaging space. When we say messaging, I generally mean SMS, Facebook Messenger, and WhatsApp, or other mobile messaging apps like that. We'll get more into detail, but just to lay the groundwork of that's what I mean by messaging. SMS, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, or similar messaging apps. We're going to start with why are organizations using messaging? Why are they getting on this channel? You are at a digital fundraising conference that's all about innovation. Hopefully these ideas will be easy and obvious to you. I'm putting this stuff in the deck to help you talk to your boss about messaging. Hang tight, things will get more interesting and more advanced, but we want to start with the basics. So why are nonprofits rushing to messaging? First, messaging is ubiquitous. I'm a salesperson, I talk to nonprofits all day, and I regularly hear the question or the objection, we don't know if our donors are using SMS, or we don't know if our donors are using WhatsApp. I can tell you for certain, your donors are using a messaging channel. Messaging has more monthly active users than social media. Messaging has more monthly active users than email. Messaging even has more monthly active users than browsers. Not everybody messages, but if people communicate at all, they are more likely to message than to do anything else. Messaging is the most personal channel. So right now you're probably at work, you're watching this video on your computer, and when I start saying something boring, you're going to click over and check your email. When you leave the office and you're home on your couch with your significant other, if they start talking about something boring, you're probably going to pick up your phone, and if you want to communicate, you're not going to pick up your computer and email, you're going to pick up your phone and you're going to message somebody. This is a drawn out example to show that email is most people's work channel, and the phone and messaging is their personal channel. So why are nonprofits rushing to messaging? Because making a donation is a personal action. It's not a work action. Organizations want to connect with people and use emotion to personally engage and personally activate their supporters. Another quick tip about the demographics and why people are rushing to messaging: when you retire and you have money and you really start thinking about bigger donations and more often, right, the 65-year-olds that a lot of people are targeting, you're no longer at work. You're no longer sitting in front of a computer every day. You do message more when you get to that age, which is a little counterintuitive. Another reason that organizations are rushing to messaging is mobile. This picture, I use it in presentations sometimes, the picture of a family eating dinner and they're all on their phone. People have told me this is very depressing, but true. But everybody is mobile all the time, and messaging is built for mobile. So what that means, it was just born on mobile, right? Text messages were born on mobile. They match our short attention span on mobile, the way we behave. They're global. Text messaging works on every single phone in the world. Global, engaging, which means conversational, and it's simple enough to integrate into other systems like CRM, email, and web. When we say messaging is mobile native or born mobile, it's really the mobile interface. So on the desktop, you think about pages, you think about web forms, you think about email. On the phone, the interfaces and the actions that have won are scrolling through a feed and sending and receiving short messages. That's just what people do on their phone. The next reason that organizations are rushing towards messaging is that messaging is responsive. This is a little more interesting. So, of course, you can get your message out the same way you blast out an email. You can share news, you can share links, you can ask people to do something, sending an outgoing message. But the interesting thing about messaging is people can actually respond to that message and tell you data or other interesting things. And sometimes response is more valuable than the ability to send your message out. And so a very big use case is to collect data from these responses. So we see here, we'll see this a few more times. Someone can message in their email address or their name or their address. So messaging is really a two-way channel. It's similar to email that you can build your list and send your message out, but it's also similar to web pages and web forms where you can receive data back. And all of it is built on the channel that works best on the mobile phone, which is the device that everybody's carrying at all times. Last but not least, why are nonprofits rushing to messaging? Because the future is still to be won. And that means there's still low-hanging fruit. So with places like Facebook ads and Google ads where you hear stories, 10 years ago you could get leads for so cheap on these channels because nobody knew how to do it. Those channels have become saturated. Messaging is not yet saturated. If you give it a try, launch campaigns, do it correctly, focus on good list building, activation, and driving action, you can have really great success on the messaging channel. It's not overcrowded yet. So when we talk about messaging channels and best practice and approach to these messaging channels, I'm going to go deep into the best practice and approach for SMS. That's where we have the most information. But Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp are also players in the space, and so we're going to talk about them briefly. With Facebook Messenger, the best use case that I've found is to use it as an acquisition or conversion channel after someone clicks a Facebook ad or engages with the page. So the best thing about Facebook Messenger is that it's connected to Facebook, both the social network and the ad network. The story is that most 90% of Facebook ads are clicked on mobile. If you drive somebody to a landing page after they click a Facebook ad, they're most likely going to be on their phone, and landing pages that are mobile convert about 1/3 as well as that same version of the desktop page. So you can drive traffic using Facebook ads, but when people get to your page, they don't convert that well. The use case for Facebook Messenger is when someone clicks the Facebook ad, instead of sending them to a page to get their email, their name, their phone number, their address, send them into a conversation, which works much better to collect data on the phone. So the user clicks, they go into Messenger, and it says, hey, thanks for messaging to sign our petition. First, reply with your email address. Great, now tell us your postal code. The data you would normally collect from a web form, send them into a conversation to collect the same data. When I've tested this with clients, the conversion rate has been twice as good, so they were getting leads at half the price compared to if they send them to a landing page to collect that data. The problem with Facebook Messenger and what makes it different is you cannot actually build your list of subscribers on Facebook Messenger. Or to put it more accurately, you can build a list, you can send subscription messages if Facebook approves your campaigns, but it's very clear that just like they did with the feed, at some point that list you've built, that audience you've built on Facebook Messenger, Facebook is going to jump in and want to charge you to communicate with them. So I'm very worried telling organizations, yes, build your list on Facebook Messenger and communicate with people there. But if the use case is the user clicks the ad, we ask them for their email address and all their data immediately, you don't have to worry about building the list. You're getting value out of Messenger immediately. So that's the approach I'd recommend for Facebook Messenger. WhatsApp is very interesting because of usage. There's countries where WhatsApp is by far the overwhelming way that people communicate. The problem with WhatsApp is we don't yet know what the use cases will be for WhatsApp. We don't know how people will sign up to communicate with an organization on WhatsApp, and we don't know what will be allowed to send to them and how often, but we know there will be restrictions from Facebook WhatsApp. So if you're working in a country and need to communicate with people that only use WhatsApp, it's definitely worth investigating and trying campaigns. But again, it's interesting. We just don't know enough about WhatsApp to know exactly how organizations should be using WhatsApp. With SMS, we do know a lot. It's been happening for at least 10 or 11 years. Nonprofits have been building campaigns on WhatsApp. The best practice approach here is to treat it like a CRM channel. So that means build, engage, and activate your owned lists of subscribers. So build a list of people, activate them over time. The bigger your list is, just like email, the bigger the list is, the more valuable the channel is for you. Good, simple beginning use cases are data collection, surveys, news alerts, segmenting the list, targeting messages, doing drip campaigns, welcome series, event reminders, RSVPs, activate people up the ladder of engagement. Those type of messaging, communication, CRM actions. Level 2 that's happening on SMS is one-on-one responses, mobile giving, text message transactions, and things like conversational commerce. That's the more advanced stuff. Things I'd recommend avoiding on SMS are customer service. You probably wouldn't be listening to this if your focus is customer service, but I don't know. I'd avoid it. The word chatbots, I don't know what a chatbot is. I don't like the word, and I've been working in messaging for 10 years. So I'd think long and hard about somebody trying to pitch the idea of a chatbot to you. AI, same sort of thing. I know AI doesn't exist. It's only a marketing term, and I know it's not real. So when someone says they have AI to do things, I know that's not true, and there's something that kind of gets my spidey sense ticked up, and I'm worried about. So I'd avoid that. I'd avoid two-factor authentication over SMS. Just don't worry about it. It's not for you. And in-app messaging is interesting. So in-app, or the messaging that happens on web pages at the bottom right, all that's cool and interesting. It's not what I consider messaging, mobile messaging, and I'm not really addressing that at all in this presentation. What I am recommending for how to think about the value of adding SMS as a channel for a nonprofit is the value comes in two ways. Number one, more people. Number two, more action. When we say more people, we're really talking about more response. So if you have a promotion on TV, radio, print, press release, live events, podcasts, outdoor media, anything especially offline, if you say text join to 12345 or go to www.com/sign up, more people will text in, then we'll go to the URL, and as soon as they text in, you can ask, what's your name, what's your email address, what's your postal code? And so what ends up happening is a text message call to action will drive more new supporter acquisition compared to if you say a URL, a phone number, or come and talk to us, fill out this piece of paper. Text messaging is an easier response channel, especially for offline audiences. One fairly amazing stat is if 100 people, if you're on stage and you say text join to sign our petition and 100 people text in, we would expect 70 to 80 people, so 70 or 80% of the people to respond with their email address if you ask that as the first response. So great for data collection, great for new supporter acquisition. Here's a case study done by Mobile Commons a while back. It's with Shed Aquarium. They did two versions of the same television commercial. One commercial said, to join, text in, text this keyword to this number. The other commercial said, to join, go to this unique URL and fill out the web form. When they looked at the results, the text message call to action drove 325% more new email addresses compared to the URL call to action. So again, the idea of messaging SMS as a response channel works better than any other response channel. The second big value of text messaging is more action. This isn't rocket science. This is basic communications. Because there's a 99% open rate for text messages, because the average text is read in 90 seconds, the people that are on your messaging list are more likely to see your message and more likely to do whatever it is you're asking them to do. Again, very simple. Communications works. SMS just happens to be a great way to communicate with people. Here's a case study showing more action. Again, this was a Mobile Commons run case study with the Humane Society. They sent everybody an email asking them to donate at the end of the year. Half of the people also got a text message that reminded them about the email. The people that got a text message and an email were 77% more likely to donate compared to the people that only got the email. So the text message amplified the fundraising results. One important note, and this is going to come up often, people still donated via the email. They weren't necessarily donating via their mobile phone. But the fact that they are being texted, your message is getting through to them, makes them more likely to open the email and donate, open the piece of mail and donate, answer the phone call for telemarketing, whatever it is. We're going to see a whole bunch more case studies. We're going to go through them quickly. Fearless Mobile Solutions sent a piece of mail, a direct mail solicitation, to a group. Half of the people that got the piece of mail also got a text message reminding them that the piece of mail was coming and asking them to respond to it and make a donation. The people that got a text message reminder were 38% more likely to convert on that direct mail ask compared to the people that only got the direct mail ask. Again, the donations are still coming back as checks in the mail, but the text message made people more likely to send that check back. Obama 2012. So this is a comparison. They had a few different things going on. One, they built a list of people that were opted into SMS. They also saved people's credit card numbers, right, if you made a donation. And so one group of people received a text message that said, if you'd like to make a donation, reply with the donation amount. We will save the credit card we have on file. Another group, compared to people that received an email and it said, click here to fill out a form and tell us your credit card and make a donation. The people that got a text and all they had to do was reply to make a donation were 8,000%, so 80x, 80 times more likely to make a donation compared to the people that got an email and still had to give their credit card. Now, this is obviously a very unfair comparison, and that's the whole point. It's so much better if you can text people and make that transaction easier just a response compared to if the people have to fill out their credit card. Meaning it's worth it to build this SMS list, and it's worth it to save credit cards, which is something we'll talk about in a second. More results. An equality organization. Their supporters that were messaging subscribers and email subscribers are 325% more likely to be donors compared to people that are only email subscribers. And last but not least, there's a bunch of case studies out there where sending a message makes it more likely that someone's going to show up to your event. Or sending a message makes it more likely that someone will be on time, RSVP, things like that. Very interesting to incorporate kind of reminder messaging in what you're doing. Another example, so this comes from Paul D. Gregorio at Rally, wearerally.com, I believe, and he ran this campaign with Open Mobile Global. I call this two-step, I think he does as well, but two-step donation, you can see there's an advertisement. Take out your phone and make a very small limited donation to an organization. And it's part of a promo, so you will get something if you do this. They then call you the next day and say, thanks for your donation yesterday. We want to get your address so we can send you the promotion that we promised. When they're on the phone with the donor, they ask to convert them to a monthly donor. And so pretty amazing stats here. 40% of the people that make that text message donation are reachable, have a conversation on the phone. And of the conversations, 15 to 25% of those people turn into monthly subscribers. My thought here is, if the idea is getting the people on the phone to make that sustaining gift, that monthly gift, why do we only want to call people that give us money first? Shouldn't we have more people text in so we can have more phone calls? But these are just more of the tests that need to be done around messaging. Let's talk about some rapid fire tips for SMS. Again, test your own stuff, but these are some basics. Just send the message. Don't ask if it's okay to send the message. For some reason, when people start with SMS campaigns, they want to send a message that says, is it okay if we ask you for your postal code? Please reply yes or no. And then if they say yes, you ask for the postal code. That's not how SMS works. You want to be clear and you want to be direct and you want to just get to the point and ask. So just send the message that says, thank you for messaging in. Please reply with your postal code now. Be direct. Emojis work, right? They're fun, but the bigger idea is to be real and personal in messaging, not just to be too cute for your own good. Along those same lines, we want to be real, but we don't want to pretend it's a one-on-one conversation. We don't want the user texting back questions that they expect an answer to. We want the campaign to lead the conversation, and we want the user texting back data. Just like your web pages lead the user, the messaging campaign should lead the user as well. Calls to action. This could be a whole presentation unto itself, but best practices for calls to action. So you're on stage or you're making a TV or YouTube video promotion. Number one, be clear with your call to action. Text join to 12345 to sign our petition. Repeat it multiple times, as many times as possible. Show the call to action, show the words and the numbers, and say them if you're working in a medium where that can be done. Most importantly, have a good reason for people to text in. If your reason is for more info, text join to 12345, nobody's going to text in. Like, not one person needs more info and doesn't know how to get it. Calls to action should answer the question, why should the user text in now? Why should the user text in now? To sign our petition, to save the whales, to stop climate change, text join to 12345. Very direct, very clear. Last but not least, find reasons for people to respond to your messages that are legitimate and valuable. Do not just use messaging as a channel to blast out links and hope people click. That's what email's for. Messaging is to drive engagement and get people to respond, and think about what response in this situation would be most valuable. Sometimes it's data, sometimes it's just antidotes, sometimes it's just activation and engagement. What's next on messaging channels? So we talked about PSMS and mobile donations a little bit. That's when charges go onto phone bills. It can work well in disaster response or when you have a celebrity that's telling people to do something, but the donation amounts are small and the communication, follow-up, and data you get is not great. So generally those are used for one-off big visible events. Peer-to-peer messaging is when you activate your supporters to reach out to other potential supporters and have one-on-one conversations. It's new, it's interesting. I'm not sure if it's allowed in Europe because of GDPR, but it's new and working for mostly political in the United States. Other channels are coming. So we talked about Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp. RCS is SMS 2.0. It's going to have open rates, it's going to have buttons, it's going to have menus, really cool things like all of the messaging apps have. Plus, there's 1,000 other messaging apps, all with their own audiences for other channels. But RCS is the big one coming soon that you'll be hearing about in the next year. Last but not least, things that you can do now that are really interesting. Transactions via messaging. So this is where you can save a credit card and trigger a donation with the user's response. Or if someone's at a monthly sustainer level, a monthly donation level of $20, you can message them and say, hey, right now you give us $20 a month. Reply with a new number and we'll increase your donation amount monthly. So reply 25 and we'll bump you up to 25. Really interesting ways to activate people incrementally or get that second donation almost frictionless with just a response. It works amazingly well, and we finally have the tools in place to do it. The other idea is sentiment analysis. So you can send people a message and say, look what's going on with climate change. How does this make you feel? And people will tell you, I'm scared, I'm angry, I'm mad. They'll give you deep data that you can't get from demographics and you can't get from surveys, but these are the real emotional triggers that cause people to donate. We are at the tip of the iceberg with this stuff, and it's extremely interesting to be able to build profiles based on emotional feelings, based on how people react to an issue, not just their postal code or how old they are. Last but not least, let's talk about tracking. How you know if these campaigns are successful. First off, we need more tests. If you're trying messaging, you need to do tests and you need to publish. Please, we need more data. Focus on the long term, right? Don't just look at this as a one-off time. We're going to try text messaging, see how much you can raise the first time you do it at a very large event with all these other things going on. Build your list, activate people over time, get more at bats, as we say in the US, but get more chances to ask people to donate. Don't look at messaging as a one-time thing. Track the supporter, not the transaction channel. So do messaging subscribers, are they more likely to donate? Do they donate more? Not just do people click text messages and donate. And the big things, again, more people, more action. We want to look at, are we getting more supporters raising their hand and joining our list because they can do that via text message? And what's the value of those people? And are the people on the messaging list more likely to donate compared to the people that we don't text message? Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was interesting. My email is here, and a big thanks to Paul D. Gregorio, who made the introduction and who provided some slides and some information. I hope it was great, guys. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions.